YouTube friendly this is gonna be. I just saw it on a list for like games, and apparently it's a fantasy world, like a dark fantasy world that's mixed with gay shit, basically. So, I guess we'll just jump in, cause yeah. Oh, my name. Cool, I get to choose it this time. Alex, I guess. Fucking name is not my last. That's just my son. Way of life and all my life. I'm not entirely sure how. It's a light shack. Let's just lower it some more. But I can lay for a while longer. Yes. Needed mother will barge and wake me. Likely talk my ear off while we're sleeping. Maybe father will knock at the window and give me the first task of the day. Sometimes my brothers would conspire against me and find new rude ways to awaken me. Fine with that, if I can stay like this for a little while longer. Alas, reality was setting in. I sighed and turned to sink my face into the rags of a makeshift pillow. Neither mother nor father nor brother could wake me, for I was in a foreign land, far, far away from home. A ship had taken me northeast across the sea to this country of Orithane and this town of Chariot. Presently I sat up and looked around me. The shack. A small rickety door stood ajar at the other end. It was swaying gently on its falling hinges. The motion play with the sun's rays created an annoying ambience with a narrowing and winding shaft of light. It was a tiny place, about a wagon's length in breadth. The loose assembly of weathered planks that made up the walls didn't seem to offer much shelter, but it worked well enough. Whoever made it their home before me had thought to fit tarps around the outside. It was a small mercy I'd come to apprentice the one time it rained, keeping it cozy and fairly dry. Other shacks weren't as fortunate. I wanted to find better lodging by the end of the summer, but better work to pay for it. Thought was a bit troubling. Back home we did not experience harsh cold seasons. This region was much closer to the northern lands of Everwinter. And they say Orithane is dark and windy autumns, and it was an open question whether this shanty could keep the wind at bay. Maybe I should talk about fitness improvements. Small as it may be, two of us were hosted in here. My shackmate across from me, Jonah, was now stirring in his bunk. Space is so narrow I could reach out and touch him where I lay. Turned over to face me, his eyes narrowly open. Morning, lad. Morning, Jonah. His voice was hoarse, with age and morning grogginess. He smacked his old lips a couple of times. Why are you staring? Oh, sorry. Sleep still bothering you? Not as much anymore. I've gotten used to it. Jonah turned over again to stretch his back, yawning. While I was getting on in age, he was still springy and tough. Plain, kindly soul. He works at the docks and spends most of his waking moments there to save up enough money for a trip. His daughter lives in a town out far east, and she's waiting for him to visit. Once he leaves, he won't be coming back, and he would stay with her. 4 years ago, he was much as strange to this place as I was when I arrived. He saw that I was a stranger, too. I think that's why he started looking after me. Was expecting a big ship today. One of those syndicate shotters. Haven't seen him in a while. He rolled out of bed and went to put on his moccasins. Might be working there through midnight, so don't wait up for me. While I was getting ready for the day, I had something else I needed to attend to. I leaned down and reached for the narrow space between the bed and wall to pull out the leather pouch. Inside of it was a notebook, and I would read through it again. Jonah looked at me curiously. "You've been doing that every morning since you started working. I need to do a little every day." "A little of what?" Leaned in gently to peek at the page of the notebook. He had seen me with it plenty of times, but he never asked me about it before. Trying to get better at reading and writing. "Oh," wide-eyed and understanding. "Thought you went to school." Did for a while. Alan asked me to get better though. "You're working with books now. Is that what the boss of it Velios was telling you?" He hasn't said exactly. I think he wants me to help with the paperwork. "Ah, I see. I know you're a smart fella, Alex. I can see you working a place like that until you're old. Gods know I'd be doing it if I could. Must be paying you well." "Not really. It's okay. If he didn't ask me to work for him when he did, I probably would have ended up at the dock with you. Only reason I didn't is because there weren't any work offers. Now, though..." Jonah shook his head in defiance. "Laddie, don't throw it away just yet. It ain't often that a farmer's boy like yourself gets to work for a fancy man like that. And with it right now, you'll learn something useful, something that'll help you out in the future. I can tell you there's nothing great about being dock worker. He'll save your entire life away. Better get enough coin to settle down by the time your bones turn brittle. Better enough time and money to see the ones you love. Hang on tight to that job you hear. I don't know if it's a good place to work, but I know it ain't this brothel's bottom. Bill's bottom. So you better get better at reading. You do that. Keep at it. Wish I could help you, but it was never much for reading either. All I can let you do is practice in peace." "Okay, thanks, Jonah." He left, pushing the door open, and let him swing back and forth as he walked away. My attention shifted back to the notebook, and looked through it whenever I could. There were pages and pages of various notes, copied texts, exercises, and rhymes. Some of my scribbled drawings were in it as well. Reading and writing were difficult. Father didn't earn enough to put us through more than a few years of school. My brothers and I were not expected to lead bookish lives. We were simple folk. I did, however, pick up a good manner of speaking from days of listening to preachers in the market square. Some of them had funny ways of expressing themselves. Occasional inflections stuck to my mind. I don't remember phrases. "This man keeps truth between words and deeds." Many of those sayings have been scrawled down already. Whenever I would remember one, I would add with the others. Seeing the words on paper and hearing them recount to my mind to strengthen my reading ability. A couple of pages should be enough. The writing exercise would come later when I was at a desk. After a few minutes, I was counting review and put the notebook back in its leather. Shuffled out of the bed and quickly put on my salt-stained boots. Leather strap of the bag's beginning to wear out, but I sling it over my shoulder just the same. Alan wanted to inspect my notes, so I had to carry the bag with me. You know, real quick, I fucking love that. This is all made by the creator, which is fucking insane. That is really damn impressive. Wait, history? There's a history? Oh. I was like, wait, there's gonna be a history button or like the history of the world or something? No, it's just the... Okay. It's normal RMP shit. The worker camp was beginning to stir. Many different ages and sizes would soon be roaming about, attending their morning needs. The man coughed as he clinked a spoon against a kettle, the one at the hearth behind the canvas. Outside the gate, a wagon was being drawn, its wheels snapping twigs and crushing leaves that had started to litter the ground. Beyond the wagon came the nagging call of a housewife searching for her husband or son. Walking ahead, I heard a slight crackling scent noise overhead. There was a campfire between a pair of shacks along the way. A few men were gathered around it, chuckling, sighing, and speaking hushedly, so as not to wake those who wanted more rest. Swatted Jonah among them. Bell would ring later on to make sure no one overslept. Half of us would be off before we would even hear it. I passed a few more shacks and made my way to the scuttlebutt. There would always be enough water in it for everyone's morning use. One person would be on duty to fill up the scuttlebutt every morning and afternoon. Wasting water would earn you scowls. Grandma the empty buckets and filled it about halfway, then placed on the counter to the side. With cupped hands, I leaned in to grab a drink. Water's too warm to be pleasant, but it deals with the thirst. Now to clean up a little. My palms sank and resurfaced, splashing my face to wash away the grimes of sleep. Set aside my leather bag on the counter, pulled out my shirt and draped it over the bag. On the counter lay several bars of Brillish soap. Brillish soap, I don't know. Some of them were more or less used up. Grabbed one of the small ones, dampened it, and started working on my body. Even though the days and nights are not as hot as those back home, I still sweat a lot. Father would always say that to make yourself proper, you had to wash your face, your armpits, and your other regions. That last one I decide not to honor right now. The soap had a fine, creamy texture to it and impressed a lightly sharp, minty odor. Washes away easily, yet the freshness sticks to you long into the evening. Back when we lived on the farm, we used to make our own soap, just like this. All the neighboring families did the same. In town, though, soap makers had have a handle on that. The cell mix were much more fragrant, but very expensive. You could always tell the weight of someone's purse by their smell. I flexed my arm and stretched, checking at my body as I was washing up. This is fucking shameless, wow. When I was younger, Mother would often make sweet rolls for me, my brothers and my friends, and that had chunked me up a little. Kept some of my roundness from before, tempered with a bit of muscle from all the hefty manual labor I had done since I came here. Cougars like myself were exotic around these parts. There were plenty of other felines in town, but none like me. Felt caught in my body. Wish I had someone to share it with. Fucking hell. Christ almighty. Since coming here, I hadn't met a man who would take me up on that. Working and looking for work had kept me busy. Now that things are settling down, and maybe I should take a gander. There's a brothel in town here that are working men. Fucking hell. Part of the reason I wanted to leave home was because of my sexual inclinations. Many kingdoms had laws against bedding another man, but not here. Orithane was a country cared little about things like that. To these people, profit was paramount. The lords rise and fall based on their ability to stimulate the flow of coin, and brothels ran like rivers. Satisfied with my grooming, I shook off the water with my fur and put my shirt back on, took my bag and head for the exit. That was so fucking shameless, my god. I mean, the writing's still good, but Christ. Stepping outside the gate, I saw the notice board where people would occasionally place work offers. Where once I would study it obsessively, now I only glanced it over out of habit. This way leads straight into the market, which used to be my hunting ground. I arrived in this town 5 months ago. Half the money I saved up had gone into the trip. The other half I lost foolishly by staying at the inn. Why couldn't someone have told me about the work camp sooner? Although my accent wasn't thick, it was obvious to everyone that I was not from the region. The few businesses that operated here would rather hire locals than someone like me. Still, I could usually find an errand or two, enough to earn my bread. Over time, I had become more familiar with the townspeople. I felt like I was starting to be more accepted. The servicers in the market are a fairly tight-knit community. Most of them have tiny stalls, selling whatever they grow or make themselves. Ironworks, herbs, fruits and vegetables, things of straw and hemp. Liquor was very popular. None of these goods came from the ships of this port town. I had hoped I would find work at the bakery, but alas, it was an impenetrable family business just like the one I had left behind. Customers on the market were dockers or crews taking leave from the ships moored in the port. Scholars, traders, travel entertainers, adventurers, and the odd noble would occasionally stop by to taste of the local produce. Although there was much traffic at sea, the cargoes coming in and out were destined for other places in and out of the region. It was a hub of traffic. Not the biggest town, but it was growing. As I walked further along, I could spot one of the wharfs at the dock where a boat was either just mooring or departing. I'd often try to enlist with one of the ships, although these crews had men from all around the world and thus wouldn't care about where your accent placed you. There I had even less of a chance. There were men with sea experience who would stalk the gangways for opportunities, men much more valuable than me in that regard. It was no secret that salty dogs were 10 times more valuable than you lads still wet behind the ears. I only come here as a seaman rather than a passenger. That didn't matter anymore. Now I have a reliable job. Cross through the market saying good morning to the kind people. Still fairly early, so most hadn't even set up their stalls yet. The ironmonger was always the first to open up. His services were sought after by seamen coming in to ask for repairs or spare parts, partly because he was a carpenter also. He was a hard man, I didn't know him very well, but he always nodded hello my way when I would see him at the earliest hour. Others were loading up their crates with produce. Most were too busy to even notice my passing. Finally, I came upon the antique shop. I approached the door and glanced through the frosted glass before entering. Okay, right off the fucking bat, we're like 15 minutes, 14, 15-ish. Well, now 16, but, just the fact that, like, all this world building is just given to you, and it just seems natural. I fucking love it. I love it already. It's really good. Why did you do that, Mouse? Why did you do that? Stepping inside, my lungs and nose were impressed with an odd, old, and pleasant quality to the air. It carried the sensation of history in bottle. It would always hit me when I entered, but fade away as I got accustomed to it. Sometimes there would be burning incense at the entrance to welcome customers, but today lacked any fancy. It meant Alan was expecting a slow day. Or he just hadn't gotten around to it yet. Bookshelves, counters, cases, and vitrines, decorated with all sorts of junk and treasures, are arranged along the walls and in the counter islands. I walked over the desk to the desk across the room. My ears picked up shuffling sounds beyond. Leaning over the desk, I spot Alan in the closet office to the side. He's looking through some papers and hasn't noticed me yet. Clear my throat to get his attention. Oh, Alex! Morning, Alan. Good morning. Alan was a very gentle person most of the time. If I had to guess, I'd place him around my father's age. His tenor of speech and mannerisms tell of a bookish man, yet he carries himself with neighborly quaintness. 1 month ago, he approached me and asked if I wanted to work for him. There was no need to consider the offer. Immediately, I accepted. Before then, a couple of people in the market had hired me to deliver some goods across town. I visited Alan twice. Everything was delivered on time and he always seemed pleased. Was that enough to convince him I'm worth hiring? Tom, I didn't even know what it was about. I'd overheard people gossiping about the antique shop in Alan, but I didn't pay much attention. At the time, I assumed it was in a place I could find. When he asked me, I was caught off guard. As it turns out, the job's anything special as far as I'm concerned. Just some housekeeping, dusting off old things, hauling stuff, and helping out any way I can. Simple tasks and a decent opportunity for me. He says he wants me to do more work, though. Things have more to do with business. That's why I've been trying to improve my reading and writing. I'm eager to learn more from him, and he's willing to teach. Alan himself is very smart and knowledgeable to understand all these old things. He deals with the clients, although there aren't many of them. Still don't quite understand why people seek out these kinds of antiques. He walked out of the enclosed space with papers in hand and stood by the desk. Sleep well? You came in early. Did you sleep well? Well enough. I've been sleeping better lately. No? You had troubled nights before? Sleeping was difficult when I arrived. Different land, different bed, even the air tastes different. I think I've gotten used to it now. That's good. Bedding a few years myself now. It's hard on me too. The air, it's much heavier and dirtier. Oh, I miss the mountain breeze up north, the crisp mountain chill, the flightless sky and thoughtless of clouds. Every day felt like a wonder. Now every day I keep myself leaving. What about you? What wind blew you into my shop? I'm not sure. He chuckles lightly. I'm asking where you're from, Alex. Oh, Ardney. He leans over and looks at me with a hint of pleased astonishment. Really? I've met a couple of Ardanes before, but their accents were much thicker. Fucking hell, my fucking accent for this dude's going all over the place. The place where I'm from is close to the mainland coast, and we have a lot of foreigners. Never really thought about it, but I guess that would make it sound more like mainlanders. You probably met more Ordans from deeper in the country. Their dialects are much more distinct. Oh wait, fucking hell, that was me. You probably met more Ardanes from deeper in the country. Their dialects are much more distinct. Did they tell you which region they were from? No, I don't quite remember. It was a long time ago. Well, the first person from Ardney I met in years. Huh. Would have thought there'd be more Ardanes traveling this way. Perhaps there have, just not into this shop. My concern is usually limited to this humble establishment. I don't often make it my business to check the comings and goings of people around these parts. Back home, I heard a lot of stories about people leaving the country for mainland, but I haven't met any other Ordains here either. Well, it's not the sort of place I would settle down willingly, but I would love to visit Ardeny someday. I've heard the countryside is beautiful, and I know the wine is exquisite. You like Ardain wine? Of course, I have a bottle of cerise. I have a couple of cerise hat bottles stored away from special occasions. Vintage 88. Alex leans in and cups a hand beside his mouth, speaking in a playfully covert manner. Between you and me, those two bottles are worth more than anything else in the, smiles and chuckles lightly while straighten out his papers. Alright, well. We have a lot of work to do today. I'll need you to stay overnight. How come? Alan's expression turns stoic as he leans back. We're receiving a large shipment today. I fucking hell, this fucking accent's going crazy. I don't know what to do for this dude, but they've literally mentioned accents, so I guess I'm going to have to keep people from Ardeny with, like, my manner of speaking, because, oh my god. Fucking hell, this is gonna be difficult. We're receiving a large shipment yesterday, coming in by boat. I received the delivery notice shortly before you came in. Shipment? Who from? The Silver and Winch watch. I sensed a foreboding hint in Alan's voice, but also excitement. This shipment is important. The Silverin Watch. They are the shoulders of the Inquisition, those who set themselves as defenders of the innocence against pervaders and their magic. Under vigil, no unlawful use of magic would be tolerated. They must be good at their jobs because I have never seen any magic. I've never known any pervader either. They were said to be dangerous and in hiding. You would hear tales of glorious battles between watchmen and pervaders. It all felt so foreign to me, like a story from a distant place and time. Inquisitors would often come and preach in the town square about the evil of pervaders of twisted magic that killed and burned innocents. These discourses always seemed so heated, warning people of awful dangers. Nobody I knew had ever come face to face with anything of the sort. First it made me fearful, but they would drone on and on for so long and so often that I began to tune it out. What is the Silverin Watch sending to Alan? Why do they need his help? Alan lowers his head and smiles to himself. He rubs the desk idly and clears his throat. So, how goes your reading and writing? Good, well, better I should say. I was asked because I'm going to need your help cataloguing the shipment. Oh. Don't worry yourself, we'll be working together. All you have to do is write down what I tell you and I go through the items. The notes are from my archives. It doesn't have to be done perfectly. I'll review everything afterwards. But I'd appreciate if you were careful. Okay, you can count on me. Alan is staring at me, studying me. Do you know why I hired you, Alex? I asked the question softly, but I am unsure if it was meant as a reminder or a genuine inquiry. Alan has always been kind and reasonable, so I discarded apprehension. You needed someone to help with housekeeping? No. Well, yes, of course, housekeeping is easy to do. More importantly, I judge that you have what I need in an assistant. You're diligent, that's what everyone in town says, and it's true as far as I've seen. Although you've been with me, I've also learned you are cautious and curious. I just clean and move things. Because cleaning and moving need to be done, among other things. A scholar cannot study without first dusting off his tomes. More interesting avenues will soon be open to you if you're ready for them. What do you mean? He looks away and down for a moment, his eyes considering the moment carefully. Then he turns toward me and carries his words with probing eyes. You've been with me for a month now. What do you think? Do you like working here? It's been good, I'm very thankful. What about your stipend? I don't pay you much as a doctor. Don't pay as much dock worker. Your jobs, they strain themselves more. Give a conciliatory nod. You're young. You look strong enough. You could have worked at the docks instead or in Betty Coyne. Why didn't you? I couldn't find work with them. I have to point out how fucking good this is. The writing, I like the writing a lot. It's good. But, like, all this subtle world building, it's really good. It's really good. Fucking love it, man. It's so good. About a week after I started working for Alan there was a call from more dock hands posted at the worker camp notice board. Remember thinking it over if I should quit working for him and do that instead. I'd have Jonah there with me too. But Jonah said I shouldn't quit yet. He'd probably be mad with me if I did that. So no, still there, I hadn't paid any attention. If you had the opportunity, would you go to work at the docks instead? This is what he was getting at. Is he testing my loyalty, my honesty? Is there some hidden purpose to this, spurred on by the news of the shipment? Does he want me to let me go? No. He says he needs my help with the shipment. Then what do I really want? I guess I just want to find my place in the world. That's why I left home, left father and mother and little brother behind. My big brothers before me had also departed off to different corners of the country. The moment was crystallized in my mind when I fell into this adventurous mood. It was all because of a water globe. My father told me the story of how one day a man came to our bakery to purchase cake bread while I was away doing chores. The man tasted it and said it was very delicious. He enjoyed it so much that he finished eating it then and there. By the end, he was licking his fingers. Father was praised by the man, who said it was the best cake bread he'd ever eaten. He liked it so much that he said he wanted to do more than pay. To show his appreciation, he gifted Father a water globe. Father gave the thing to me, and I was completely mesmerized by it. Never would I have thought that such baubles could captivate me, but once I held my hands, I was in another world. It was so pretty. The encapsulated scene was of a boat near a coast, and on that coast had a pyramid covered in glittering gold. I would play with it all the time, swaying it and flipping it to make little flakes inside dance. Oh, it's a snow globe, okay. At night I would place it on the shelf next to my bed. The thing carried me into sleep and I would drift off, wishing I could wake up in the world of that globe. That tiny thing helped inspire so much wonder, so many powerful emotions within me. Unfortunately, the globe didn't survive long. My little brother played with it a week after Father gave it to me, slipped and fell, smashing against the ground, broke into tiny unsalvageable pieces. It was the most upsetting thing that had ever happened to me up until then. Despite the mishap, the inspiration I gained from it stuck with me and grew stronger. It made me bold. So bold that it spurred me to travel overseas. Of course, when I got here, my dreams were somewhat shattered. Orethane is a dry, grayer place, and people don't seem quite as happy. Reality hit me like a brick. A man has to earn coin to feed himself, and I quickly put away all those adventurous dreams. Despite all that, things aren't going too terribly. Working for Alan seems pretty interesting. There may be a future here. I've certainly seen lots of things around a shop that could be called treasures. Maybe this is the glitter that I was so desperate to find. It would be a disappointment to my younger self, but I am not so young anymore. Life is never going to be that wondrous. Holding on to a childish dream like that seemed foolish and wasteful. My thoughts went to my little brother. Would he have silly dreams like mine? Would he end up far away from home like all of us? My heart pulls back toward home in Ardeny. I wanted to see my brother and warn him not to be like me, warn him away from risky decisions like those which would almost trap me. Then I recalled my father. I felt his presence, like he was watching over me from across the sea. How worried would he be? How worried would mother and little brother be? They must know I'm fine. I want to see them again. But now is not the time. Those childish dreams may never come to fruition, but I have taken on a new dream. That I'm making something of myself out there. My future is ahead of me. Is it with Alan? Is it the docks? Is it with one of the ships? The only thing I know for sure is that it's not waiting for me back home. Oh. My senses returned to me and I realized that Alan is staring at me. Must have been lost in thought for a bit too long. When I worked at the docks instead, I still don't have a good answer for him. Sorry, It's alright, I'm sorry if I made you worry. Let me explain. You are a bright young man, the entire world is open to you. For you, these are the years that will define the rest of your life. I can see it in your eyes that you understand. It is good to be concerned for your future. Perhaps you've had it tough lately. Sometimes you have to push through hardships until good opportunities show up. This job is one of those good opportunities, and I want to convince you of that. Yet at the same time, I'm not sure where your heart is. Here's the deal. I'd like you to become my assistant, not just a handyman. That means you will help me with research. I urge you to improve your reading and writing, because moving forwards, you will need to do a lot of studying. Do not worry, there is time. I am patient and will help you. Studying what? Ancient lore. Have you ever heard of Nigantis? I shook my head. It's a lost civilization from 1,000 years ago, rooted in the north. In the past few decades, scholars have taken a keen interest in their relics. Many ruins are being discovered and rediscovered due to recent archaeological innovations. These places are rich in old treasures, things that have special elusive qualities to them. My job is that of the unraveler, who studies these objects and brings out their secrets. Okay, but I don't quite understand. Secrets? Sounds very vague. Yes, I am being vague, aren't I? Alan sighs and glances away for a moment. Alright. Tell me, Alex, so far does the job I've described sound appealing to you? I don't know, maybe. Working at a bakery or a docks is finer and coin, but there must be more I can do, not just manual labor. This ancient world business sounds interesting, but I don't understand. Alan, is there something you're not telling me? I want to say yes. Alan shifts in his seat uncomfortably. The pause lingers a bit too long, making me unsure if I should say anything. Now I have one more important thing to tell you. This is why I've been asking you to consider. It's wonderful I've managed to tempt you, yet there are implications to this line of work which may not sit well with you. There is more to what I do here than just putting a price on old things. What is it? Alan sternly stares at me like I'd never seen him do. He leans in to rest his elbows on the desk and steeples his hands. Alex, I am a Pervader. That's something. A Pervader. A wielder of magic. Those people whom the Inquisition demonized. Am I supposed to have a strong reaction to that, to say I don't believe it or show fear or excitement? I do believe it, and I think I'm afraid and excited and dozen other things, but all that cancels itself out and numbs me. His expression is almost flat, yet betrays a shred of anticipation. Why? Why am I a Pervader? No, I mean, why are you telling me this? Why now? It's because of the work you'll be doing here. You see, this little shop I have here is more than meets the eye. Although most of the items we have in here are just old oddments, a few of them have very special properties. Things with those with magic, enchantments. They're tools like a hammer or a pump, powered with magic. Such items can be used to do many, many things. They're quite useful and prevalent in the north. However, enchantments are banned in the south throughout the domain. The Inquisition laws. So, you make enchantments? I can, but that is not what I do here. Have you ever seen an enchantment? No, I've never seen any kind of magic or anything like that. Alan opens one of the desk drawers and pulls out a shaft of wood about a foot long, narrow as a finger at one end, tapering at the other end. He hands it to me. Hold it up in one hand and flick your thumb across it. Go on, don't be afraid, it's harmless. I do as he says. As I nervously follow his instructions, I see the tip of this thing begin to glow. A bright glare comes into existence. It is like the flame of a torch, but does not flicker and sway in that manner. No, it is something else entirely. Not attached to the instrument at all, a wisp of light levitates gently above the wood. My hand trembles at the strange event I am witnessing. Pull back the piece of wood, and the wisp follows the movement like a relentless gnat, keeping itself perched above the tip. What you are holding is a wand that has been enchanted with a torch spell. It is one of the most common enchantments, but as well as one of the most useful ones. Alan gestured with his hands in a strange fashion, muttering something under his breath. In an instant, another wisp of light materializes, floating above his hand. A Pervader can do this kind of magic innately, but enchanted tools can be used by anyone. That is their value. We both stare at the strange pair of lights and how they dance to the rhythm of our gestures. Excitement courses through me as I play with it. Alan recognizes my enthrallment begins to laugh softly. I reach with my other hand to touch the tiny floating sun. Does it burn? I try to fondle it, but my fingers don't touch anything. The only thing I detect is pleasant warmth. The wisp passes through my fingers and palm. A moment of awkwardness is felt as I realize it is shining from within the flesh of my hand. Then I move my hand away and let it escape. Alright, flick your thumb over it again. As I do so, the light vanishes into a trail of orange, glowing mist that floats and fades away. Alan has extinguished his as well. What do you think? I turn the wand over my hands and study it. Nothing about it would tell you that it contains such a power. If you asked me before, I would have said it was a fancy little stick. Can I keep it? Alan chuckles and wags a finger. No, these are not toys. I don't want to be caught away one of these around. The Inquisition would find you. Gives the one back to me, puts it back in the drawer. Different wands have different spells, so be careful if you handle one of these. Most wands are enchanted to trigger when touched in the manner I explained to you, but some may be designed differently. You don't want to fire off something you understand. Why didn't you tell me you're a Pervader? Ellen leans back and stares off to the side. It's a precarious thing. First, I wanted to see if I could trust you and rely on you, and I wanted you to get to know me. Too many people have heard too many terrible stories about Pervaters, and that made it very difficult. Not to mention that this region is a grey zone when it comes to magic. Does anyone else know? Nobody in town knows. Most of them become obsessed with trinkets, which is also true. I don't want anyone to know, so of course I won't say a word. Thank you. Alan sighs. Is all of this alright with you? Wasn't sure how to answer. It was a lot to take in. Orathane had given me a lot of surprises, and Alan's even from the region. I was very excited, but I'm not sure if it's too much excitement. Would working with a Pervader put me in danger? Would I become suspicious in the eyes of the Inquisition? And then we have a shipment from the Inquisition, which doesn't seem right. You have misgivings, but I promise you there's nothing to worry about. Alex, I want you to keep working here. If you're thinking about leaving, you must let me convince you to stay. Doubtless you have many questions. Please ask me anything and I'll answer as best I can. Yeah. How come we're gonna ship it from the wash? Do they even know you're a Pervader? What kind of magic can you do? Can I learn magic? I'm not a Pervader. Okay, wow, this is a lot. I'm gonna be honest. This one here seems the most, pertinent. The rest of these don't make any sense. Like, what kind of magic? Petty. Getting to know, I'm sure, but like, this is just fucking stupid. Yeah, I'm doing the top one. They know, it is true. The Inquisition and their Silveren Watch have no love for my kind, and neither do I theirs, but I am stuck having to serve them. What do you mean, serve them? I thought it was just a shipment. It's their property, not mine. They're sending it to me for inspection. Let me explain. A few years ago, I arrived in this town. The Inquisition imposes a law that says all Pervaders with the domain must register with the local watch authority. The idea is to keep us in check in the month of our presence and movement. If you travel to a different kingdom or country, you must check in with the authority there to make yourself known. They also prohibit the use of magic without license. Most Pervaders don't respect these laws of theirs, and neither do I. We tend to keep our business behind closed doors and away from populated areas. I was caught and arrested after working in the shop for a few months without their knowledge. They would have me charged with a crime for not alerting me. Instead, I was offered a deal. They would look the other way and not bother me, but I would have to work for them. Pervaders like me are used to inspect contraband for enchantments. The watch itself doesn't have the ability to do it effectively. Is that why they're coming now? They want you to check for enchantments? Yes. A couple of decades ago, the Inquisition put in place an embargo that enchanted goods across their domain, that is to say, Pendragon, your country of Ardney, and Krismark. Some of the southern fiefs of Orathane are also part of the domain. This region included, although the exact jurisdiction is a mess and unclear. Nord Inclay ships used to move a lot of enchantments back then. They've been suffering from the Inquisition's restrictions. Now there are black markets everywhere. Even though Nord Inclay is no longer trafficking enchanted goods, you can still find many of them across the domain. So when the watch catches something suspicious through customer raids, they send it to me or someone like me to check for enchantments. Oh, I can ask all of them. Okay, I was about to say. Let me explain. There are two types of enchantments. One of them is the type we create today through our current understanding of magic, the one simple, practical, easy to use. There's a market for crafting these items. The market is saturated, and yes, you'll need to know magic. As far as identifying them knows, it is something any pervader can sense easily. Without that sense, you won't be able to do much. The other type of enchantment is a completely different beast. Old era enchantments. The power they contain is so arcane that it's impossible to create that kind of magic today. We cannot even understand it. So many enchanted techniques have been lost to time. If I were to hold an old era one in my hand, I would barely be able to sense the shape of its power, much less tell you its use. Research in ancient enchantments is more contextual, more like a puzzle. It's a marvelous thing to study and quite traditional in its approach, knowing magic is a little help. You may well surpass me in that department one day. Are these old enchantments better? They're beyond better. They're masterful. Those things do amazing things, things that are so... Alex, there are ones which can shake mountains or bring the dead back to life. Wow. Wow indeed. But they are tricky. Most of these ones have things like traps. Spend the entire day talking about them, but we have more important things to do. Suffice to say, up north there are many groups which search for investigate these items. If you're good and can solve their puzzles, you'll be able to earn a lot of coin. What kind of magic can you do? When you think of magic, what do you imagine? I recall some of the stories that were being told by inquisitors in the market square. There were evil tales of robbery, murder, and all other kinds of terrors. Although the crimes are many, throughout all these stories I recognize one common theme. Fire. And Alan slowly nodded. Magic is more abstract than what the inquisitors preach, but at the root of it there is that element. When you touched that wisp of light, what did you feel? It was warm. Yes, and what is warmth? Warmth is energy. Energy is movement. That which warm moves. That which is cold stays. Yeah. Yeah, when something's hot, the atoms are going fast. When it's cold, they're going slow. Basic chemistry. Flames flicker and give us the warmth to survive through winter. However, you should not think of fate as just a flame. Some of us are as simple as that. Those are the ones we call firebrands. Firebrand? Try 12, anyone? But each pervader has inherent affinities for different forms of magic. For example, my affinity defines me as something we quickly refer to as a rebel. He moved his hands and lips yet again to conjure a spell. This time he materialized a floating block between us about the size of a book. It stood vertically and was pure black. No light came from it or reflected off it. It almost looked like a hole into a dark room rather than an object. One of my powers is that of rejection. Touch it, if you will. My hand approached and touched the surface. It felt remarkably even and neither cool nor warm, although there was a warmth around it. I tried pushing into it, but not budge. I tried wrapping my hands around it to pull it or nudge it any way without success. Neither light nor sound, nor any kind of force could pass through it. Ow, what is this thing? What you are holding now is pure manifested rejection. Try as you might, you will never be able to move this object, even if you had 100 men to help you. Through magic, a pervader can bring into existence many things, even things that seem abstract or material. As I was struggling in vain to test the truth of his words, the thing vanished, and nearly made me stumble to the ground. Alan had removed the block. I regained my composure and looked back at Alan, feeling a bit silly. He gave a sly smile. That strange thing taunted me to play with it some more. Of course it's fucking useful. Do you have any idea what kind of shit that could be used for, dude? So much. It can be. Anyway, now's not the time to learn about magic. I can tell you more about it later if you're still interested. Can I learn magic? Oh, you want to learn magic now? Just ask if it's possible. Well, unfortunately, no. Not unless you are a pervader yourself. But it's probably a good thing you're not. Anyone who does not have to worry about the Inquisition should count themselves blessed. But what does it mean to be a pervader? It's an innate thing. Nobody knows why they are a pervader until they awaken to their power. Truthfully, you or anyone else could be a pervader that simply hasn't awakened yet. How old are you? 20 and 4. If you were to be a pervader, it would be a very late awakening. No, I don't think you are one. Very few people turn out to be pervaders. About 1 in 10,000, I believe. Count yourself among the lucky many. Am I really? I think most people would like to be able to use magic. Most people don't know what they're getting into. Psst. I'm not gonna fucking ask that. So, have you decided? Yes, of course I'm going to stay, Alan. Breathes a sigh of relief and brings his hands together. Thank you. You could have told me earlier I would have heard you out. With the benefit of foresight, we could always choose better paths. The Inquisition's preaching has made it difficult to find people I can trust. I had to take my time and figure you out. That upset me and made me frown. I wish he didn't have to hide this from me. Though it seems I was right to put my faith in you. I'm so glad I can put this behind me now. We smiled at each other. What a strange turn of events. Alan had appeared throughout all this like somebody wanted my approval. In a world that made sense, it would be the other way around. Now, we should get back to business. These watchmen will arrive later today and we need to be ready. Come around here and have a look at this. I complied, moving next to him behind the main desk. This is the delivery notice. You see here, they have 4 dray worth for us. So many. Did a sweeping gesture across the main hall. There is too much clutter in here. We need to make space. Anything which can fit through the hallway needs to be put in storage. Okay, why not put the shipment in storage? Staying here long, at most a day or two. They want me to check what they have before sending stuff elsewhere. That's why I want it in front so we can go through it quickly. All this trouble for one contract. I hope they're paying well. A pittance. This isn't done for money, but I'll put in my end of the deal. Fuck that! Wow, fuck that! No, you should be being paid more for this shit, dude. Fucking hell. Okay, I just have something to say. I don't know why this thought occurred to me, but like, time loops in I love those. They're really cool. And the only fucking VN I've ever played that had a time loop, the first one I ever played, repeat. Well, the second one, because the first one I ever played was major minor. Second was repeat, and that one is like a time loop thing. Of course, the time loop shit didn't happen until like about a year after I got into it, I think, so... Yeah, I mean, actually it was the same year because it was 2018. I don't fucking remember, okay? I need to piss. I need to fucking go to the bathroom real quick. You stupid door, you need to stay open when I'm out of the room, fucker. And you close yourself again like the bitch you are, I'm going to fucking kill you. Bubujama. Abujama, Buna, losing angle for I'm back, motherfucker. Okay, right. Water. It upsets me that Alan is being kept on a leash by these watchmen. He doesn't deserve to be treated this way. When is it when arriving? It's never a certain thing when it comes to ships. They're expecting to land in the afternoon. Bad weather could delay their arrival. In any case, we need to be ready for whenever they could show up, and the earliest hour is noon. Get to it. Be very careful, let's not break any more vases, shall we? Sorry about that again. Don't forget to clear enough room and storage before you start moving things in there. He turned and picked up his cloak from a hook in the side wall and headed for the exit. You're leaving? I need to speak to the Harbor Master. The Silvering Watch needs to go as quickly as possible, so they want to clear more of when the ship arrives later today. Notice of the ship's arrival should have reached the port already, but there has been a change of leadership in the port and they may not, Appreciate the deed to show deference and priority to the watch. I need to avoid any senseless friction for the good of everyone in town. I'll be back soon. Don't dawdle, but don't rush. We won't. With a nod, he turned and went out the door. Alone. Took in a deep breath and looked around the shop. Took me a few moments to realize the significance of the situation. He trusts me to keep this place for him while he's gone. We only met a month ago, and now he trusts me. Dark thought peered through me. I could grab everything in here, fill my hands with treasures, and run away. There would be enough carried wealth to make the trip back home and purchase land for each of my brothers. A lot of these items I have no idea of their worth, but there are baubles of gold and silver, things that could easily turn into precious coin. See, I could secure a future that way. Pain washed over me and my stomach turned. I am not a thief. This man arrested me for nearly ending up on the streets. He gave me something to look forward to. Just a few minutes ago, he told me to consider my future, advised me to think about what I really want. Last thing I want right now is to disappoint him. Shook my head. These are the dark thoughts of a poor, desperate, hungry soul. That is not my way. Refocus on the task, Alex. Leave this darkness behind. Alan trusts me now. Muttered the words to myself, and I felt the sin within me fade and transform into something good. He trusts me now. I will not disappoint him. My eyes flew over the main hall once again, this time with intense purpose. 4 Dreyworths. Small display cabinets would have to go first. Large counter islands and cabinets would not fit in storage, so they would need to be set aside, taking as little space as possible. I stepped to the doorway and made my way to the storage room. Most everything is already packed up fairly neatly, but more could be done to create a bit more space. I only had enough room for what I could bring in, but there was already a lot of empty space in the area near the hallway. There's no need to put things all the way back near the back exit, although I could scooch a few things over in that direction. Things here and there were nudged closer together. Crates would be stacked on crates, but not so high that you would risk tipping them over if you happened to trip into them. Then I returned to the main hall and started the transfer. I did not rush. Each item was moved in a timely and safe manner. Many of these trinkets were fragile and required careful handling. Every door frame, every stair, every creaking floorboard had to be considered. My grip would have to be firm as I could allow without risking accident. I learned my lesson that one time I broke that vase. Alan wasn't angry, but he derived some sick enjoyment out of teasing me with a reminder of my failures. There were pots, pitchers, and crocks, weathered ornaments and heraldry, spears, shields, and clubs, and unstrung ballasted, hanged censers, breads of different cultures. A mannequin dressed up in pre-modern garb and veiled brim hat. Beyond its gauze it wore a queer mask I had never noticed before, estranging me for a moment. The cabinets held ancient coins and coin boxes, various bits of weirdly shaped metal, desiccated flasks, and resin-sealed curios. Rings, amulets, bracelets, fibulas, and decorative pieces that were strapped to clothing. Some were held in glass cases, never to be touched. It had been about an hour, and almost all the items were now hidden away in the storage room. I heard the door open. He took a few steps in and inspected my work, nodding in approval. Good, good. Alex, you can stop now. Almost done. There are a couple more cabinets left. Don't worry yourself. I'll finish up in here. There's something else I need you to do. He walked over out of his hand. In his palm was a ring and a small pouch. I took them from him and noticed the pouch jingle with the sound of coin. Head into the port and wait for the ship. It will come in on the near wharf. Look for the silver pendant above the sails. Do you remember it? Yes, the 2 stars, one above the other. Wait by one of the terraces. Grab yourself something to eat while you're there. Your rumbling belly upsets me. Don't tell me you don't pay enough to feed yourself. Sorry, I skipped breakfast. Alan shakes his head with stony disapproval and sighs. Meet with their commander when they disembark and bring him here. Show him the ring so he will know you work for me. They should send their men to carry everything here, but help them out if they are on demand. As he gave me instruction, I began to feel a little anxious. My eyes lower under the ring, studying it. Self-doubt starts to weigh me down. What is the matter? It's nothing. I've just never dealt with people before. Never dealt with people like that before. Commander of the Watch. You sure I should be there to meet them instead of you? What if I say something stupid or stumble my words? I don't want to embarrass you. but the hands on his hips gives me a queer look as if I'd said an obscene joke. Alex, you're one of the most well-spoken lads I've met. If you were better at reading, I would have said you were noble born. You have a sharp mind, I know you're cautious and polite. You are perfectly suited to greet these people. Come on now. You think I'm worthy? Shook his head. Oh, Alex, you must keep your chin up. I don't like this meekness of yours. Everything will be okay, trust me. Honestly, I'm surprised you'd be this shy, considering your broad figure. I'm not a boy anymore, you don't look it. My hand reaches back to awkwardly rub the nape of my neck. Perhaps you are too polite, that has made you timid. You must tell me, where did you learn your manners? They're more than fit for purpose, but if a bit excessive. Memories of home. My gaze shifts to the empty floor as I recall a scene. My father holding my boyish hand and guiding me through the crowded streets to get closer to the voices. Father would take me to watch the podiums when he had time and sent me there when he didn't need me. He wanted me to listen to the wise men, inquisitors, and the duke's heralds. They spoke on many subjects. Sometimes they would hold debates and argue for half the day. When I returned home, Father would ask me to retell what I had understood from them. I said, so, your father was keen to mold you for some thoughtful office then? No, I had too few years of schooling, and Father couldn't afford it. Lived on a farm when I was young, and then my family moved to the city. We simply worked flour and bread. My brothers and I all helped. I think he expected one of us to take out the mantle, but almost all of us left. You rose from the field and bloomed in the city. Happened he had high hopes for you. Whatever the case, you'll grow into a man sort of manners like these. That shines through it, yes. I don't feel like I am. We must work on your confidence. In any case, these men will be coming here are mostly soldiers. The watch doesn't allow nobles to join their ranks. At least not unless they renounce their titles. So don't give them any special treatment except the commander, whom you should refer to as Sir. Other than that, you don't need fancy protocol. Let me share something else that might calm your nerves. Although the watch is against Pervaders, they have in the past tried to maintain good relations with Pervader communities. We were quite cordial for quite a while. Now the watch doesn't have many friends among Pervaders, even few of them are experts in enchantments. I've been stumbling lately and ruined the goodwill they had managed to foster. I am probably one of the few people they can still appeal to. Because of this value I now hold, they will treat our relationship with care. So to see them, know that their leniency with me will be without generous bound, and that you are an extension of myself. Alan smiled at me, patted me again on the shoulder, and then headed for the back office. There are no ships on the horizon when I left the wharf. It will be likely at least now before they arrive. There's some spare time, but don't be tardy. And don't forget to feed yourself. Oh boy. God, I fucking love this already. It's so good. The ship would arrive much later than expected. It was nearing sundown, and I ate twice while waiting for the client. Down the docks, I recognized several men from the worker camp. Felt a bit strange sitting there looking at them. If Alan hadn't offered me the job when I did, I likely would have been out there with them right now. Jonah was there too. We waved at each other. He was too busy to stop and chat, though. There were a couple of ships in the port when I got in there, but as the day went on, they departed, disappeared over the horizon. Ship came, fast and tall. It flew the Nord Inclay pennant, the bold green claw grasping a yellow flower, a signature of their wealthy trade empire. Their merchant fleet was renowned across the world. It is said to be the largest fleet to have ever sailed under one banner. Throughout the past century, the Nord Inclay Syndicate has enriched the north and brought much prosperity to the southern coast as well. They even sent ships far west and east across the Oral Sea and the Burning Sea to those exotic lands far beyond. I imagine all the reason for the growing bustle in this town is in part because of their trade exploits. The ship had moored next when our client was to arrive later. A representative came off it to discuss matter with the port officials, while the crew stood at attention. Glancing between them, you could sense that every one of them, from captain to officer to seaman, understood their roles well in their grand united enterprise. Their faces were stark and serious, and barely hint of the roister that was so common among these sea dogs. That kind of discipline one would expect of soldiers rather than civilians. Wonder how you get into those crews. As the evening set, Alan himself came over to check on the situation, displeased with the delay. They still haven't arrived? No, must have caught bad weather. Saying it would take a while, he decided to take a nap. Likely he would have to work through this night, and Alan would need to be well rested. Sometime later I saw it come into view, a large ship, three-masted, boasting the silver and silver pendant, which glittered in the red-orange light of the sinking sun. The men on the wharf guided the ship, signaling for it to come alongside in the place Alan had arranged for them. It inched closer and closer until it was half a breath distance away from the dock. Mooring ropes were thrown over the side, and the longshoremen took them and tied them down. I stood up and slowly walked over. The main deck of the ship came at about the height of my head. Once the ship was secure, the crew swung over the gangway stairs onto the shore. Down came 8 men, but more were standing by the deck. The wharfinger hailed them as they stepped closer. 2 of the men wore black tunics, with ranks on their breast. They followed the wharfinger off to an office attached to a nearby warehouse. 6 remained, all clad in their signature shining steel. One of them had ornate pauldrons and stood tall and confident, a clear indication of his higher rank. That must be the commander. They saw me coming and stood on my approach. Their leader held a practiced glare over me, trained to meet me. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. As I got closer, I felt his eyes weigh on me. His stare was piercing. It made me feel reckless to approach him. Greetings, sir. I'm Alan's assistant. I'm here to take you to him. In my nervousness, I turned by the ring on my finger, but his eyes were drawn to it, even though it lay conspicuously at the hand on my side. He looked at the men behind him. A quick glance and turn of the head had told them to follow. Then he spoke to me. Lead the way. He gave a curt nod toward Alan's shop as he said it. Does he know the way, or was it a lucky gesture? We walked. There was a younger one among them, following at the commander's side, half a step lagging. They were both black leopards, and the air about them seemed to suggest they were family. Metal of their boots, man overlapping plates clanked and jangled with each step along the way. It had a heavy, serious sound, which spoke of battle readiness. I'd seen their kind before back home. A group of them, at least 100, had marched through the streets in a parade. They always wore that armor, the thing that glittered so strong in any light. Even now, as dusk settled, their sheen drew eyes from all around us. We walked for about 200 paces from wharf to Alan's shop. As we entered, Alan rose to his feet. I was worried he would still be napping at this hour. Ah, welcome, Son Russell. Alan. All of us huddled inside and waited. The commander slowly paced around the room, scanning it. Silence gathered, perturbed only by his steps that carried him through the inspection. There was no mistaking the weight of his presence. You were prepared for us. Good. I understand you're in a hurry. Quite. The men will be here soon with the items. Marshall's booming voice radiated absolute control. At times he would strongly inflect on a word or phrase like he were roomy. He suddenly turned and issued orders to the young one beside him. Secure the area. Check every room. Set guards. 2 men at the entrance and 2 at the back exit. The young watchman nodded and quickly set out to carry out his orders. Sir Marshal, I remind you that I don't need the space for your men to work. Of course. After they clear your stash with will post outside. You will not be disturbed. So many men to guard their cargo. Why are they afraid we would steal from them or play some trick? Doubt seized me. There was a gravity in the marshal's commands, which I chalked up to a display of authority, but perhaps there was something deeper there. I looked at Alan. His face must have betrayed my misgivings. He glanced at me through narrow eyes, gave a slight nod and waved a hand as if to tell me I'll be fine. The men went about the shop, looking and tracing their hands across the walls and surfaces. What a strange thing to see. It's like they were hoping to stumble upon a hidden ghost. Walked over to Alan so there's one here. What are they doing? It is urging for magic. Some of his answer didn't seem any better than my ghost idea. They know Alan is a Pervader. They think he cast some wicked spell. I guess they don't trust him enough. Maybe it's standard procedure. Wonder what it is they're doing exactly. These men are trained to fight against magic, so I don't doubt they know their duties well. My question remains regardless. I'll ask Alan about it later. The young building is cleared, Sir Marshal. We will secure the perimeter. The watchmen were led outside by the younger one. Just then, the first crates were rolled in. Alan instructed them to place everything along the wall. How long do you expect to take? To check every item should give me the preliminaries. Filter out the magic from the mundane. Going through everything, it should take us past midnight. After that, it is if you send you a letter, I can't say for sure. We'll have to see what you're dealing with. I see. Marshall allowed himself to sigh. We cannot stay here long. We will depart by noon tomorrow, perhaps sooner. Do we can until then. I shall wait outside. He suddenly looked at me. Felt naked. His harsh eyes bespoke of something terrible and powerful. A soul of unshakable will with a purpose that cannot be subdued. He held his piercing gaze on me as he spoke to Alan. Is he staying here? Yes, Alex is my assistant. Is he a Pervader? No. Marshall glanced back at Alan and turned his eyes on me, studying me once more. I would not bring a Pervader before you in secret. Heart is racing, but I cannot move. This man is thinking of a Pervader. I want to protest, but I know it's foolish to say anything. Watch arrange terrible fates for condemned Pervaders. They were locked up and tortured, tied down in dark cages where murmured to get out the soles of their feet. They were fed rotten or poisoned food, and links of skin were cut from their arms and legs. They would inflict lashings and obnoxious mixtures in the wounds that caused cruel and painful infections. Those were the dark whispers one would hear if an inquisitor stirred the locals. Could I even prove it's not a Pervader? Do they care if you're innocent? What would I do? What have I got myself into? But then he looked away. No, you'd be too wise. You'd be wise to do so. It would not be wise to do so. Marshall walked out into the dusk. Looked down and saw my trembling hand. My mind was swirling with disturbing images. Laughter and crying were wrestling in my throat, but needed to let itself out. Ellen's hand lay on my shoulder, a touch so gentle it barely registered. You're fine. Seeing his kind and confident smile, calm returned. It's all it took to bring me back. Come, we need to get to work. I started opening the crates when Alan pulled out a couple chairs for us. Last crates came in, and then we were left to our own devices. He handed me a piece of parchment with an ink bottle and quill. He started inspecting the items and dictated what I would write. Talisman, triangular, russet and green, northern, mundane. Pick up an item, turn it over in his hands, feel its weight, check every angle. Occasionally he would stare at something for long or mutter to himself. Wish I could see what he sees. Bone, skull, feline, female erosion. Never seen Alan so concentrated before. Waystar, enchanted, Nigante. How do I write Niganti? He took the parchment and quill from me, wrote it down, and handed them back. I had hoped I managed to do the simple task for him, but I still I failed. The confidence dwindled. These things not really don't have much meaning to me. Should have worked hard on my exercises. He gave me a reassuring smile. You're doing great. Without a large plate of metal from the place, it was rusted everywhere, but you could make out a surface pattern, etchings with circles and waves. Arma, blessed plate. Nigante, pyramid order. Enchanted. We went on like this so far to about a dozen enchanted items. A small number still were described as Nigante. I was curious about its true significance, but now is not the time to ask questions. Blade, short, a dagger. Alan started along on others. He went on like that for nearly a minute. His eyes were searching for something, peering into it. Dagger, Nigante, enchanted. Turned his hands some more. Alan seemed absorbed by this thing, like a taunting puzzle, which would not relent. So I had to ask him, what is it? I'm not sure. There is something ancient and trapped. It's almost like that. But he never finished the thought. The subsequent silence lingering indefinitely as he stared at it. All this time, most of my attention had gone to writing down Alan's words. I took a closer look at the thing which seemed to perplex him. The dagger, indeed, and old and rusted, as everything else in these crates. It had an ornate handle which made a guardless transition from hilt to blade. There were etchings on the group inside of it. If they spelled out something in some strange language or were completely senseless, I wouldn't know. One thing stood out to me. As Alan turned in his hands, candlelight reflected in the blade seemed to shift into a colder hue, made it appear ghostly. Of course, Alan saw further my surface level observations, so I needn't bother him with what he already knew. There's another dagger in one of the crates next to me, so I had to reach out to pick it up. Alan quickly grabbed my arm. "Don't touch it!" Hurriedly with which he stopped. He suggested there was risk involved in handling these blades, and recalled what he said about wands. You never know if you'll accidentally trigger something dangerous. He then took the second dagger and considered it as he had the first. After a while, both blades were set aside on the counter. "I'll have to come back to these later." He went through the items without a hitch. There were more daggers that looked similar to the other ones, but Alan glossed over them as if they weren't similar at all. He didn't recognize any enchantment in them. Were some of them forgeries? What keen insight did Alan possess that allowed him to see the value of these things? Did he use some kind of magical perception? Alan will have to clarify a lot of things for me. After the final crate was emptied and the final notes scrawled down, I leaned back, stretched and yawned. It was very late. "Good work. Thank you, Alex." "Are we done?" "You're done. Take the notes and put them in the archive drawer in the back office. Is there anything else I can do?" "Yes, you need to rest up. I might need you in the morning. Go into the storage and make a back bed for yourself. Use some of those old twitters laying around there." "Okay, can I get you a tea or coffee before I lay down?" Alan slandered his forehead with a hand. "Yes, some black tea will be lovely. Thank you, Alex." So that made my way into the back office to put the papers away. The ring Alan had given me was still in my finger, so I discarded it too. I took some dried leaves from the herbal cabinet Alan kept for his teas. The kettle was out in the main hall next to the hearth. Stepping back in the main hall, I noticed Alan had gone outside, probably checking in with the marshal. "Alright, just boil the water and put the leaves in." The day was almost done for me. Alan would have to do more, and this tea shall push him through it. Wanted this to end soon. These watchmen frustrated me. Sooner we can pack everything and send them off, the better. What do they really want? What are they hoping to discover in these things? Alan had said there might be more to do than just check for enchantments. He hadn't told me the extent of this particular job. So much commotion for what seems like a pile of withered nothings. Why? My curiosity haunts me. My head is spinning. I'm still rattled by Marshall's threat earlier. Stress is making me gloomy. There is more to this than I was told. Should I care? It's probably not my place to know. Alan would have told me more if he thought I should know, or maybe he'll tell me later. He'll deal with this, we can put it behind us. So many of these things are labeled as Nyanti. "Thank you for the tea, Alex." Clears my feet. I was so lost about it I didn't hear them come in. They were both standing there, Alan and the marshal, kindness and austerity. "Go, rest up." I nodded a bit too wildly and retreated toward the storage room. My steps were heavy in their relative silence, and I could feel their eyes fall on the back of my head as they left. As I stepped into the storage room, I breathed a sigh of relief and take in the new atmosphere. This chill air is doing wonders for me, easing my nerves. Although summer was ending, it still carried warm and damp nights. Not in here, though. Perhaps I can convince Alan to let me sleep in this place instead of the camp. I'd miss Jonah, but he'll be leaving soon anyway. Midway to the far corner, carefully maneuvering between the crates. Beyond the back door exit came the clink-clink sounds of heavy armor. Two of the watchmen were standing guard. Tonight I had my own guards, like a king sleeping in his kingly bedchamber. I allowed myself to think these silly things. Made it easier to calm myself down. The stuff in the back made a cozy alcove, perfectly suited for bedding. Furs were gathered folded up in old chests. I threw them around the floor in a man-shaped pile. Finally, I resigned myself to crash into it. Get my boots off without a care where they would end up. Somehow, this feels more comfortable than a bed. Turned to look up at the ceiling. Through the narrow window up on the wall came in the light of the night, a bluish ray that cut flatly across the room. The air was filled with something serene. Little stars of dust danced above me, performing for the moon in the darkness and all things ancient around me. Set to a feeling of safety. My eyes are closing. I will drift away. A creaky noise. My eyes open. The door's open. Door's fucking open. Shit. The sound came from further inside. Someone had stepped on one of the loose boards by the door which led to the main hall. Without moving to take in my surroundings, the light of the moon is now shining down next to me. Time had passed. Could be Alan or one of the watchmen, however those steps carried themselves with striking finesse. Alan did not have that grace, and the watchman sounded metal. So I lift my head to see what I can see. Through the mess of huddled junk around me, I could spot them. 2 people dressed in dark wrappings, sneaking. It's too dark to recognize them, but I realized they were dangerous. The breeze is warmer than before. I check, and the back door is wide open, inviting the nightly summer heat. The watch were no longer there. They've been silenced. Back and their chairs are gone. They stepped in the main hall. Stand up, Alex. I need to warn Alan or the watch. Should I go at the back? No, what if there are more than waiting outside? What if Alan's in danger? Stand up and scurry after the intruders. My barefoot steps wouldn't make much sound on the stone floor. Past the doorway is a narrow passage that leads to the main hall. You have to climb 3 wooden stairs to get there. This is where they made their noise. Although they were sneaking, they didn't know where things creaked, but I did. Sitting in the stirrups, I made sure to skip the noisy middle one. Heard them before I could see them. Either Alan isn't there, or he's... My head gently leans inside, risking a look. Their backs are turned and couldn't see me. I can't see the entire room from here, and I don't think Alan is around. No signs of a struggle. Could he be upstairs? The door leading that way is across from me, but open is not an option. The hinge will make a loud, grating noise if I attempted that route. I usually scold myself for not getting around to greasing them earlier. Focus on the intruders. They're speaking in hushed tones. Found one. There's one more. Keep looking. They're rummaging through the crates. Of course, thieves. If this is what the watch feared, they were right to do so. What happened to the guards in the back? Should I have checked? I think it's a dangerous situation to find a way out. Thought to pick up a weapon like a sword or a glove from storage, but I brushed off the idea as soon as it came. Whoever these people are, they probably dealt with the guards in the back. There's nothing I can do to stand up to them. If they're sneaking, it must mean the front is still being guarded. They must fear the watch. They have to alert them. There has to be something I can use in here I can use. No time for elaborate plans. Pick up an iron handle holder about as big as my hand and as heavy as a rock. This should work. Stealing my way back, I noticed they're still busy searching. Most of the items Alan and I had checked are no longer out in the open. You must have put them back in the crates. Look ahead toward the entrance. The door was closed, but that worked out for me. The glass would be harder to strike if the door was open. It's about 20 feet away. Leaning in through the doorway, the angle is too uncomfortable for a good shot. You step in the hole where I can throw it. If I miss and hit the wooden body or door frame, it might not make enough noise to fool the guards. Carefully now. Noise they made rummaging through crates masked my own approach. They were hasty. One step after the other. Slowly. It's a good thing Alan put everything in storage. All that walking back and forth taught me how to navigate this place carefully. Then, with the iron thing in my hand, pull back my arm to angle the throw. After I throw it, sharply duck back in the storage room, hide among the crates. They're probably gonna run off the way they came in. Look to my left to plan my escape. Then, there I see the strain. We both lay still, hanging on that tottering moment before things turned dire. Heart races. Last chance, Alex. Suddenly felt like I crashed from some great height. My muscles strained. Something hit me and launched me halfway in the main hall. I was upside down and blurry, and my legs, arms, and back draped against wood, splinters cutting to somewhere above the elbow. And then I knew I had fallen the hardwood door. There's another pain. Something inside of me is broken or twisted, and it scares me. But beyond all that, I could hear the glass shatter. Ah, me bastard! What was that? You missed one! I have to go, now! No, it has to be here! Rather than panic, I'm counting on my days. See them moving around clearly now. Outlines have turned solid, but their masks still concealed their faces. There are more muttering noises outside, which convinced me I'd done the right thing. Are you mad? We need to go! No, bring him here, we can use him as leverage. We already have one, please, let's just go. Bring him. Let's stick around this cursed place. You're on your own. You're on your own, Kari. Damn you, Wish, come back here! In the matter, while there was not movement, my legs are being dragged across the floor as if falling towards the intruders in the middle room. Grabs the back of my shirt and forced me to sit up. Then I felt something cold and sharp pressed against my neck. Don't move. Keep them busy, we have to blast out of here once I have it. When I come out of my daze, my body lagged, and able to protest what was happening. The skin feels sensible, rough and rigid, and my muscles ached in a state of disturbing numbness. Couldn't budge, and everything seemed 10 times heavier, harder, and rougher. Clothes seemed to be frozen, fixed in place, like rigid armor that wrinkled into a fossil shape. Finally, the door burst open, they barged in. The young watchman from before came in with Auror's companions. Alan pushed in after them. Alex! Says my name. I feel the iron trembling against my skin. I have to reassure himself, tightening his blade, tightening his grip on my shoulder and nervously kneaded at it. Stop! Straining in the air into my heart, I was helpless. This what it comes down to, a death find me here? Surrender! Persist and you die! What do I continue to rummage? Stop that right now! Two thieves were unsure of themselves. My captor tightened his grip around and shuffled in place. What are you doing? Keep them at bay! Last warning! It's been charged forward before they can advance. Even a step, my captor releases me and leaps backward. I hear a thundering noise behind me and see smoke evade my surroundings. My fossilized clothes loosen, melting back in normal state. My body is still paralyzed. Falling backwards, I sprawl helplessly on the ground. I use the only strength I can muster to tilt my head backwards to look towards the thieves. There's a large hole in the far wall now. He's made his escape. Run! Their clanging heavy boots assault my ears as they trample along past me. I hear them yell something seemed like hatred. One of the thieves remains, still searching for his foolish prize. You have it! He pulled it out, the puzzling dagger. Victory was short-lived, however. I saw the onset of fear in his eyes, and one of the watchman's swords had nearly fallen upon him. Reflexively, he lifted the small blade that blocked the strike. They clashed, grinding metal upon ancient metal, causing an unsettling vibration. Something horrible stirred, a rumbling that precluded disaster. The dagger shattered and exploded, shards flying in all directions. Hauntingly white light erupted from its core and bathed the entire world, blinding me. Everything became an accident, the air and dust swirling and spreading, whistling and pinching with pressure. There came a deafening ringing noise that turned into a mounting clamor. Thousand storms roared and crashed, roaring and crashing, one on top of the other in a seemingly endless loop. Over and over again, ravaging waves surged and moved everything around us. The demon sound violated everyone's ears, a scream from hell that filled in fear and pain. My strange feebleness prevented me from raising my hands to my ears to protect myself. As the sound wave washed over me, it attacked me and sapped my mental faculties, with my mind bleeding, picked apart by a barrage of tiny noise-manifested needles. There was a stinging in my belly as if I'd been stabbed. My reflexes urged me to coil into something small, but there was no strength in me to do such a thing. The ringing sound was now fading away, along with all other signals of reality. I heard and felt their metal bodies crash to the floor. The last thing my ear picked up was a pair of muffled voices full of anguish. Alex! Jizmar! Light went away as well. The burning past my eyelids receded, and my world sank ever into darkness. Someone was over me, touching me, tapping me, shaking me. I didn't care. Care was falling away as well. The moment was gone. Only still silent darkness remained. Then even the darkness faded. It is time to sleep. What the fuck? Okay, Jesus Christ. First I heard a flicker and a crackle. It sounded like it was close, somewhere above me. I heard another one further away. Lit torches. The sounds echoed strongly. It must be a quiet place if that's all my ears can pick up. Felt like my awareness had suddenly come into existence in perfect glory, with my body that lagged behind once again. I had been somewhere in a new dream, already forgotten. Then I came back to the real world. My eyes were still closed, and I struggled to open them. Strength is returning ever so slowly. What happened to me? Alex? I'm waking up and Alan is there to witness. He stood and approached me, the sound of his steps striking more loudly as he came near. Alex, are you awake? Put a hand on my forehead and rubbed gently with his thumb. I am. Oh, thank mercy. But my eyes. It is dark, but for the orange glow of the torches. Everywhere I look are the stone walls of stone and bars little. This is a prison cell. How are you feeling? I'm tired. Trying to move my arms and push myself upright, feeling my core ache as I did. Take it easy, you've been injured. Not too badly, but you should be careful. Looked down and saw my midsection was wrapped in bandages. That area remained numb even as I regained my strength. Ran my hand on my belly, feeling what had happened to me. How long was I out? It's been almost a day. Turned over to look at Alan. He looked tired, drained, and sad. Are you in any pain? No, just a little bit sore. There's numbness here. What happened? And I scratched through my bandages. You were struck by metal shrapnel and something else. I think I got most of it out of you, but there may still be something in there causing you discomfort. But now let it heal. Where are we? Alan sighed and leaned back to sit against the adjacent wall. For the first time I saw his clothes and fur dirty, he would always take good care of himself. The watched us in jail. Why? Sorely misunderstanding that she let us go soon. His words came out dismissively. He could barely look me in the eye as he said it. What happened to the guards? You mean... The guards were two at the back. Back in the back exit, the thieves came in that way. Though I didn't know about them. What about the others? They were caught in that... whatever it was, the blast. I could see concern and frustration in his eyes. They were hurt. You were more fortunate, I think. Why are we in jail, Alan? Who knows what the hell these tyrants want? Alan sighed and rubbed his eyes, subduing his ill temper. Their men got hurt. I think they want to interrogate us to make sure what happened wasn't some sort of attack on our part. But we're innocent. These are to blame, right? Of course. They used magic, at least one of them. I couldn't move. And yes, they were Pervaders. They were looking for that dagger. What happened there? That explosion? He stared at me, showing only worry. He didn't say anything for a long while. There was terrible magic thing. Powerful, terrible magic. Something I wish I would never see again. That was their goal. It was all about those daggers, I'm sure of it. And the Ganti spell was sealed within them. Those things are ancient. Their enchantments far more potent than anything made today. Couldn't you tell it was dangerous? Enchantments are dangerous only if you foolishly break them. Fortunately, that's what happened. I recognized it might be volatile, but I couldn't finish my inspection. That night I went out to speak with one of the watch lieutenants, only for a few minutes. These must have recognized the opportunity then and leapt at it. They must have been watching us for a while. His eyes sunk to the floor and contemplated his memories. The incident affected him too, even though I could tell he wasn't injured by the blast. Who were they? The thieves? Rogue Pervaters, probably Umbral. They were mad to steal from the watch. Such foolishness would be... Alan shook his head and sighed. He then looked at me and placed his hand on my arm, squeezing it. There was genuine remorse and worry in his eyes. I would never risk you being there if I knew this would happen. I'm supposed to do a job like any other. I did not expect the Marshal to bring this kind of conflict to us. You know, I'd suspected those items were covered by some rogues. I never would have foreseen a plot to try and steal from them. Those thieves were insanely foolish to do what they did. We got caught up in their foolishness. Regardless, we are innocent. The Marshals will see reason. He must. Alex, I am so very, very sorry we got caught up in this. Although it wasn't his fault, he feels responsible for what happened. I wanted to tell him to stop acting like he was to blame, but we were in trouble before I could say anything. Door opened, the Marshal stepped inside. He walked over to our cell and stood there. It was a glare again. Still shook me with my indignation toward him and overcome my fear. And the strength to stand up. Reason for our imprisonment wasn't clear, but we were trapped in the middle of some scheme we did not consent to. Your assistant feeling better? I can speak for myself. Boy's grown a spine. Good. Why are we locked in here? Pacing around. Who'll you write that scene? Some sort of magic under my men and my son. Thieves did, so we had no part in it. Alex. Let him speak, Alan. Grievous demands an outlet. Your men saw them. They held me hostage. Umbral scum. From under his breath. Of course those fiends would take hostages. At least we're out one small joy. That thief declared the dagger died in the blast. Merciful fake about what we would have shown him. Promise you this, when we find the rest of them, they will put away to rot in a dark cell, and never see the sun again. They will pay no matter where they are. Why are we locked up? I do not believe you to be guilty of any crime. Yet we were locked up. How many would release you? Not yet. Stepping from the bars and he stopped in front of me. You ought to be questioned and clear suspicion before you can be officially released. Then question me. Question both of us. We have nothing to hide. I'm not the one who wants to question you. The persecutor of the watch will conduct the interrogation. He'll still arrive in a few days. So we have to sit here and wait until then? Marshall leaned in slightly and placed his hands on the bar, supporting himself. It was only the gesture. Only the slightest gesture of weakness or exhaustion allowed me to see that he was also worried. Can you show me your wounds? What? You were hurt in the blast. What was the bandage there for? I attended to his wounds. He is fine. The Martian was regret in the way he looked at me. You mentioned his son was caught in the blast as well. How badly is your son injured? He flared up at that. You shall not speak of my son. Show me your wound or I'll cut off the bandages myself. Whatever was going through his mind, past the harsh exterior, there was suffering in his eyes. I was compelled to show him, although I didn't understand the purpose. The bandage wrapped in one long piece and tucked under at the top. I unraveled the thing which around me several times, and it came loose and I could push down the rest of it. First, I didn't understand what I was looking at. It was surprising that my wound, made for such a big and strange scar, didn't feel that painful either. That's... They were both looking at it with dire attention. It seemed to have mostly healed except for that funny-looking scar. Oh, Alex! Seeing their reactions unsettled me. Sure, it looks strange, but I don't understand their unease. Looked at Alan, at Marshall, glancing between them, searching for an answer. What is it? Alan walked up to me and pulled the sleeve of his right arm to his shoulder. He showed me his upper arm where he had a symbol, something like a brand. It was etched into his flesh like a scar. Yet his fur remained as thick as everywhere else, and I discovered at the root. Do you know what this is? No. It's a Pervader sigil, Alex. Then I looked at my own. You didn't see it when you banished him? There was nothing other than a few bits of metal lodged in the flesh. Alan rushed to the bars and appealed to the Marshal. His voice was consumed with worry. You must believe me, he was not the Pervader before. He tugged at the bar's waistway. The Marshal stood there betraying no emotion. Thoughts moved in ferment. Two ideas kept repeating in a bouncing pattern. Well, that's a fucking note to leave this episode on. I am now Pervader. Shit. Yep, we're done. We are, done for now. We're, yeah. That's a good place to leave it, I think. Yeah, Wasn't expecting this, honestly. Actually, pretty good story, not gonna lie, anyway. See ya.